now.
Okay, so let's introduce ourselves first. Hello to the audience who is watching. I'm Chuyin from T Lab at Monash University. I'm a PhD student there. And Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a new PhD student from the same lab, Lipeng.
Hi, I'm Lipeng. I'm a previous honors student, also in same lab and Vishaal.
Yeah, I'm a master student in the same lab as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So I will briefly summarize the key content of this paper. Today, we are going to discuss a newly published paper titled Bodily Maps of Musical Sensations Across Cultures. The idea of this paper is quite straightforward, I think. It has two methodologies. One is a number of ratings on the music clips. The other is the author's core paradigm and silhouettes of human bodies. And it has two groups of participants, Western and East Asian. So they can make a 2-by-2 comparison. From previous studies, we know that music has various impacts on our body, such as heart rate, body temperature, chemical levels, and breathing, etc. But they are all objective. We know little about the influence on subjective bodily sensations. And music can also induce a range of emotions, and the emotions might be associated with different patterns of bodily sensations. So the question here is whether music-induced emotions can show such an effect. Moreover, music is a key part of the social life. It shapes and is shaped by cultures. So it's also significant to do some cross-cultural studies to see the consistency and differences. So this study aims to investigate how the topography of music-induced subjective bodily sensations varies according to emotion characteristics and acoustic features of music. The authors first got a number of music clips from Western and Chinese songs. They asked a small group of participants to rate them on 6 emotion categories and selected 36 Western and 36 Chinese clips. Then they did 2 formal experiments. The first one asked Western and Chinese participants to rate the 72 music clips on 11 dimensions, including the 10 affective dimensions and familiarity. The second experiment showed participants a blank silhouette of human body and asked them to indicate in which regions their body activities changed while listening to the music clip. And then they run a bunch of analysis. And first, from both the ratings and bodily sensation maps, which they called BSMs, the stimuli induced consistent emotion experience across the two cultures. Specifically, tender, sad, and scary songs induced sensations in the chest and head. Happy and danceable songs lead to widespread sensations throughout the body. Aggressive music as well, but in particular the head. Next, the authors constructed 2-by-2, so 4 similarity matrices in total. The matrices are quite correlated between each other, so it shows both consistency between cultures and also indicated that the ratings can predict bodily sensations. Then a hierarchical clustering and also showed consistent results between the cultures. And The authors also ran a PCA analysis and found two principal components that can explain over 90% of the variance in both cultures. The authors labeled dimensions as valence and arousal, consistent with the emotion dimensions in previous studies. The dimensions tend to activate different body regions, but are still consistent between cultures. Finally, the authors assessed the relationship between detailed acoustic features and readings or bodily sensations. These relationships are consistent between cultures as well. And in the discussion section, the authors further mentioned the link between bodily motions and sensations. In my understanding, this relationship is built upon the induced activations in limbs, so suggesting some tendency to move. And I think that's the main results of this paper. And do you have any extra information to add? Okay.
I think that's roughly it. Did we, I didn't catch the last part. Did you mention the acoustic property? You mentioned it, right? Yeah. And how it's correlated.
Yeah, I didn't mention it in detail. So if you have specific points to notice, you can add here.
I was just going to say that it's kind of interesting that it's cross-culturally true, even for some of the higher order acoustic properties. Although, for example, like the complex rhythm, the high fluctuation in entropy, I'm not exactly sure how it is measured or what it will what would it sound like. But it's kind of interesting that even these higher orders, both Asian and Western participants, seem to have a very good correlation.
Yeah, I don't remember the authors mentioned how these detailed features are measured, right? They only said in a rating experiment, participants rated 11 dimensions.
I think the acoustic property is more related to the sound itself.
Yeah, I
okay,
noticed
okay.
they use MATLAB. I think there's a package to extract this picture from
Oh,
specific sound.
yeah. I found it. Yeah, I see it. Yeah, musical feature extraction. Oh, yeah. I missed that part. Sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is the function of the MATLAB package. I think it is very interesting that they analyze some kind of music or audio stimuli in such a manner. I think it is good for us, especially for our own student Selena.
Oh, so yeah. So I guess this toolbox is like it's something like HCTSA that contains
Yeah.
a large number of features, but it's for music clips. That's what, right? Looks so.
Feature extraction.
Yeah.
Vishaal, do you have any ideas of or feel this similar to HCTSA?
I mean, yeah, if it's a toolbox that uses feature extraction, then yeah, it is similar to HCTSA, but HCTSA has like many features. I think this has how many? Did it specify?
No, but they reported some of them.
Yeah.
I think they show specific features only. Oh no, they have a full feature list in the appendix.
they have like
full feature
20s.
list. Full feature list, table S2.
Wait, let me just check that real quick. It's interesting to see, I guess.
Yeah, I was thinking that you know, if there's a lower order acoustic property that have strong correlation between the cultures, it's understandable that some sort of almost reflexive response when you heard the sound into your ear. But even more complex features also seems to share good correlation, which I'm not sure what it means. Does it mean that perhaps the popular sons are in some way similar? That's, of course, not perhaps not the author, what the author would say. But
Mm, I don't. Sorry, Mac, did you finish?
yeah.
I don't know. Probably, Vishaal, can you inform us that in HCDS, in the interpretation of HCDSA features, and how do you interpret some individual features that look very interesting? Like,
So typically, of course, you would analyze the accuracy of features if, like, for example, using it for classification or something like that. But the feature itself are like analysis methods compiled from different fields, right?
yeah.
And the feature itself, there'll be like documentation of what the feature is, um, what are the statistics that it is summarizing and everything. So I've taken a look at the appendix section for this paper that we're discussing, and
Mhm.
they do have like an extensive list of features, but they fall under like general um categories. Like for example, they have a class of features called timbral features. So it's like spectral entropy, roughness, spectral novelty, flatness. And then they have tonal features, which is like clarity, majorness, tonal novelty. And then they have rhythmic features like tempo, fluctuation, pulse clarity, and then dynamics, right? Variance of the root mean square of the energy across stimulus. So this is just like some examples of the features that this paper is using. But yeah, I would say it is somewhat similar to HCTSA. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. With, I mean, with over 7,000 features, you probably won't look at some specific features, right?
Now we'll probably like ideally you will look at the features of interest or the features that are put that discriminate between what you're measuring. So
Yeah, but here in this study, the authors have around 30 features or so,
let me
20
see.
or 30 features or so. So
Yeah, around there. Yeah, I
we
would say
can
around there.
probably look into the specific features if they are really interesting, right? I guess so, yeah, but I'm not familiar with those
Yeah,
features. Yeah.
I think they have about 21 features in this paper. So yeah,
Mm,
very, very feasible to look at specific features in more detail. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
yeah, right. Mm.
I have a question about how can I understand about the musical structure? Uh, I found it difficult to understand this word, musical structure, and
I
what does it
mean,
mean?
uh,
Okay.
you are muted.
Yeah, I was gonna clarify that as well. I was wondering, did they, I'm not sure did I if I missed it, but did they give like an explanation or an elaboration of what they refer to, what it's
Yeah,
referring to when they say
what
musical structure?
in what context? Yeah, I see
Yeah.
it in.
Uh,
So you mean in the third paragraph, right? Because there's only one musical structure term.
yeah.
And
Uh, yeah. The structure actually is throughout, maybe a little bit throughout the paper, I guess,
Mm.
because if you find the word, highlight the structure, this word, I can find many. Uh, they mention multiple times.
yeah, so let's focus on whether or not this is different or similar to what we call structure in our lab. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Um,
Mm,
Oh, but also before moving on to like clarifying what musical structure refers to, I also want to point out that they explicitly say that I don't think they use the full list of features extracted by the toolbox that they use. They say they chose only 3 or 4 specific ones, probably based on um previous research.
3 or 4, but they
Yeah,
hardly
because
use.
it says, I quote, we chose features that capture rhythmic, tonal, and timbral aspects of musical stimuli. Or maybe they did use, or maybe here they are just they're just saying the general category of each feature. Like, yeah, I don't know. I might have missed something here, but right. Back to clarifying musical structure.
Okay.
Yeah.
No problem. I will say the structure looks similar to what we call structure in our lab. So so in our lab, within a type of stimuli, say for example colors, we have a lot of different colors, but they are all colors. So within a type of stimuli, we collect the relationship, similarity relationship, usually similarity relationship, but we collect the relationship between each between each pair of specific stimuli, and construct what we call structure for those stimuli. And from the structure, we call structure from this we can categorize people's subjective experience of the stimuli.
Yeah, so in our context, in our lab, we say the structure is referred to the like vector embedding of these relationships, a set of relationship. But yes, for this paper, I have a little bit confused in term of terminology.
Yeah, I feel it's quite similar to our context, but in our so yeah, the meaning of terms, I say the concept looks similar, but the methodology of gaining them might be different. Like
Yeah.
see here, they are construct the structures based on a number of ratings, but in our lab we usually do directly measurement. So
Okay.
yeah, that's what I think. Mike, you have some ideas?
Yeah, I think they are using structure in like two different ways. One is in a broad sense, the relationship between two different clusters. And in a more specific sense, they are maybe talking about, for example, the component structures. Then it's related to the principal component analysis. Or in the previous one, they're talking about similar cluster structures found between the two samples. So they're using it in a variety of different ways. I'm not sure if they are proposing there's a holistic structure for all of these musics.
Yeah, it's like in coding, we have global variables and local variables. So globally, structure is similar to what we use it. But somewhere locally, the term structure might have very specific meanings. Is that correct?
Yes, I think that may be that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
Any thoughts?
I do have a question. Because the author in the introduction, it seems to be position what is it? Emotion as a sort of perception of the inner state, like the physiological state. Is it a common way of conceptualizing emotion, Chuyin?
What? Sorry, you mean this drawing paradigm? Or
So in a sense that the music evoke some sort of a physiological response in ourselves, and then we interpret it as emotion.
Yeah, that's say emotion. If we just say emotion, it's quite a complicated term. It involves different levels of activities. So in our lab, we usually say emotion experience or say feelings. So we are consciously aware of what those things. But here, and they also mentioned something like body temperature or heart rate. Those are also a part of emotion. And maybe, if I remember correctly, it may be a part of emotion state. So we can't be consciously aware of those changes, but yeah, they are a part of emotion reactions. Say emotion reactions, yeah.
My question is that the direction of the causation?
Okay.
Because it also seems to imply that there's a physiological state first and then emotion come afterwards. Can it be the opposite way? Is it possible, or is it not a good way to consider it?
By opposite, you mean
Like emotion leads to physiological changes.
this is an interesting thought, I will say. And I haven't seen any paper saying naturally emotion is constructed in a top-down way. It's very weird, I will say. But if we manually manipulate that, say, if I keep telling you you are happy, you are happy, you are happy, and you tell yourself that kind of information, whether or not it might elicit some physiological changes, I would say it's possible. But usually in a natural way, I mean, yeah, in everyday life, or yeah, just say in everyday life or in a more natural way, we start from physiological reactions, and then we are consciously aware of that.
Yeah, like in this case,
Just want to add on, like, I think the body response, for example, the heartbeat or the heart beating, let's say example, if you can consciously experience of your body response, I think that's a subcomponent of feeling, of subjective experience of emotion. I remember.
Yes,
and then
yes.
for the top down generation of emotion, I remember the appraisal theory has suggested this kind of processing, right? Based on the previous knowledge, you evaluate, or you look this scenario as happy or as danger. You label this scenario, and then you feel emotion.
But globally, it's still a bottom-up pathway. You have some information, you receive some external information first, and then you appraise that. Mike, what did I understand correctly? What do you mean? It's we have some
Top
feelings
down.
in mind initially?
Yeah, so you listen to the music instead of say music leads to physiological changes, leads to emotion. Could it be music leads to conscious experience of the emotion and then physiological changes?
Yeah, it's not consistent with any of the not any the majority of models. Say basic emotions, no. Cognitive models, no. And appraisal series, no. They all say we first receive external information and have some maybe physiological reactions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to mention in the discussion there's a predictive coding model. Do you have noticed that? It is yes. I think
go ahead, please.
it is very correlated with Mike's question.
Yes, yes. So it's not an emotion model, it's a consciousness theory.
Yeah. So for example, if you heard the music, then you start to predict next drum. And then if the drum is not unpredictable, then then there is a lot of error of prediction. Then it leads to the feeling of sadness, I think, or leading to the feeling of scary, aggressive, and irritating.
I don't quite understand.
So which
I don't,
part?
I don't get what you mean. The prediction error leading to specific
Predict
emotion in the
predictive
rhythm.
coding model. Yeah, for the
So you're saying that that determines emotion in music? Or is that
I'm
what
not
Y-
it
Yeah,
says?
potentially.
I was under the impression that they were talking about bodily movement rather than like the
I don't,
desire to move your body.
yeah, I was thinking like sensation, like, when you hear music, how do you feel? Like in some areas, like I think there was another paper before this that spoke about the topographical distribution of emotion, right? Where they feel hot or cold in certain body areas and stuff like that. So I was under the impression that it is the same experiment here, more or less, just with music instead of emotion. Um, and like for example, in figure two, they say, oh, the color scale shows uh, activation of the specific region, but I don't exactly know what they mean by activation specifically when it's basically self-reported sensation from the participant. This, to my understanding,
Have you
if that makes sense.
ever have you ever felt a part of your body is activated?
I don't.
Kind of. Like when you listen to music in, let's say, a club, you sort of want to move your body in a certain rhythm, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's the obvious one. Like you want
or
to dance
you
with
or
it.
you listen to a really nice song and you get those goosebumps, right? So you get the goosebumps, that sensation as well, right? Yeah.
Yes,
So
so I think that's why the authors mainly call it bodily sensations rather
yeah,
than
correct.
activations.
Sensation. You're right, correct. But I'll just mention that for like one of the figures, for example, they use the word activation. So I'm just assuming that it means sensation as well, you know. But I don't think they mentioned any, I don't think they explained this change in emotion and distribution of emotion according to predictive coding.
Um,
Yes. Because I just question. I just have this question because
Right,
they didn't explicitly talking about um
right.
this related to subjective
Mm-hmm.
experience. So I'm thinking
Right,
if we can use this model or apply this model to our conscious research.
right,
I, I, that would be the hard problem with consciousness, right? We will be meeting that problem if we are continuing this predictive coding. We will say, how exactly does this surprise in the predictive coding invoke my
Mm,
experiences of feeling scared or sad? And then we
mm,
are just stuck there.
Yeah.
yeah, but I think the idea makes sense. I mean, to Mike's initial question,
Yeah,
like
like an internal
acco-
model predict.
yeah,
Uh,
according to predictive coding, you might have an internal feeling first, and then you
mm,
listen to music, and yeah, I feel that, right?
Yes.
right.
That's quite interesting, and because usually I haven't tried to apply consciousness model onto emotion experience. Yeah.
Right.
so we are
Right.
a consciousness lab.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, just say I probably miss that part. Yeah, I should do that in the future. Yeah. Mm, mm.
Would it be all right if we talk a little bit more about predictive coding, more in its original sense that the author mentioned? I'm a
Yeah.
little bit confused about it because it's saying that the desire to move body part originated from some sort of um, desire to reduce prediction error. But I was under the impression that the prediction error is related to the next beat of the music or next rhythm or whatever. How exactly does this translate into a desire for bodily motor movement? I don't think it's entirely clear from the description.
Hmm. Yeah, it's not entirely clear. We probably need to check the reference the author cited to understand what
Mm,
the core
yeah.
logic is. It's
Right.
quite brave.
So, yeah, I agree. So basically, the explanation of the predictive coding comes from, I think, a different paper entirely, it looks like. So yeah.
Hmm. Say like here, motion capture data indicates that spontaneous moving to higher rattle music is characterized by accelerated hand, foot, and head movements. So this 65, yeah, yeah. If we check that, we probably get better understanding of how this
No.
get there.
And now I think about it, it is quite a mysterious, phenomenologically, it's quite interesting, right? Why is there a desire to move upon hearing a specific sound with certain characteristics? The author in this paper correlated the different structures, from the acoustic, the emotional label to the bodily sensation map, and that's all well and good across culture as well. But why exactly do we have this desire to move? And why is it only for specific rhythms or whatever?
Well, yeah, this might be answered in an evolutionary way, I will say.
I think there may be a more like evolutionary explanation is always kind of a sort of vague and speculative. I think it may be something similar to what we have in vision, right? In vision, you have what vision scientists describe as an inverse optic, right? You sort of receive information from the external world, and the information gets transformed, retina, brain, striatus, conscious experience, so on and so forth. But in the process, to decode the information, brain makes certain assumptions. I'm wondering whether the same can be said to
Here is a difference. In the visual pathways, they are still, or they are limited within our brain. But if
yes.
we are talking about motions, it goes to PNS.
Oh, that's true.
So it's like when you touch something very hot, you automatically retract your hands. So
Oh, right. I see. It's something automatic.
yeah, such a neural pathway actually does not include brain, does not include CNS. So I will say it's more complicated than visual pathway.
Yeah, that's probably the case because we are talking about emotion.
We're talking about motions. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, I will question the gap between we have a feeling to move and we actually move our body. And so far in this study, it's quite limited to our sensations. We have a feeling, we have a feelings in our limb and we might want to move, but will we actually move? I feel like there are different questions, or say there's a gap between them.
Is this unique to auditory stimuli? Are there like visual or olfactory or whatever stimuli that also have a strong connection to the motor cortex? Because they
I
also
mean,
mentioned quite a unique connection.
if you experience a smelly area, you're compelled to move away. That's if you smell trash, you're compelled to move away. So I guess I don't know. I have no idea. It's hard to probably not, right? I don't know.
I don't think it's limited to auditory stimuli because
Yeah.
the authors also did similar studies using this paradigm
Ah,
with different stimuli. So yeah, but I can't remember exact results in other studies. But yeah, they
I mean,
are
if you look,
similar.
yeah, I think if you look hard enough in terms of neurobiology, if you look hard enough, you'll probably find some neural pathways like neurons linking more movements to auditory, like
Yeah.
responses, like olfactory responses, visual processes. So yeah, it's a big jumble of wire up there.
Right. Right. Mm. Mm. And I have a, sorry, assuming we can move to the next question. I have a say question or open-ended question that, but this it's more related to me and Lipeng, and it's to how much extent that we can consider this drawing paradigm as as a non-verbal paradigm.
Yeah, I'm
Say,
also thinking about this question. Please go.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like how much the verbal knowledge is required in doing such a task. And
So basically, I want to, let's make it clear in just like a pipeline. So they ask participant to rate, to draw the changes in their body topologically, and then using this topographic to make a similarity metric. At this stage, I'm not very sure how did they generate this similarity metric. They they talk in they just talk it in several sentences. They say
that's technical details, I think.
yeah, they say they compute the mean of all dimension within each category for both stimulus set and then compute the correlation between this mean rating. So I assume each pixel of this metric is the correlation of between two group or between row and the column. So the similarity metric is actually the correlation metric.
Can you specify which matrix are we talking about? Which figure?
Figure 3.
Figure 3. Okay.
And then from this step, I now think about we can use this body metric, body sensation metric to compare with qualia structure metric. And then we also use nonverbal paradigms, right? So I want to make this pipeline clear.
What I'm thinking is whether or not participants feel some changes in their body, like I feel my hand want to move, no, not like that. So I feel that something in the center of my body changed, and then I draw something in the center of this human body, or I realize that my heart or my gut or my chest it's getting hotter, and then I draw this on the chest. So you see the verbal knowledge is involved. Did I make it clear? Like it's more like the strategy of participants. So
Wait.
do they use verbal knowledge to do such a task?
I want to ask Mike and Vishaal, do you experience emotion, or do you have a very clear interoception? Because I don't have such kind of feeling.
Mike, do you want to go first?
It's fairly clear in my case in most cases, but I do have very strong inner monologue. So I'm not sure what that says about me, but yeah.
I don't know. I'm a blank page. I just
Yeah, maybe we should actually experience the task to
Yeah, we should.
explore
Yeah, honestly,
ourselves.
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yes.
if we can replicate the task and do the task, then maybe it's like a different story. But if
yeah,
we are asked to just like imagine and
it's
report
quite
how
hard to
we might
imagine.
feel or might not feel, it's just
Yeah, no one. I suppose no one asked such question before. Yeah.
yeah. So
So you haven't thought about that. Me
yeah.
neither. I haven't thought about this question. So it's quite hard to imagine. Mm,
Well, well,
So last week or the week before last week, I asked Colin when I read this paper, I asked him to have very clear interoception. And then he say, kind of. But then I ask in English, they usually use such kind of my gut is twisting to ex to to describe a feeling or describe an emotion state. So I think this is some factor or some confounded variable in the interoception. I don't know.
mm,
uh, not necessarily, right? As Tring has mentioned before, it could be that the physiological state is an integral part of
Mm.
emotional experience. Of course, it's also possible that they can be differentiated in some way at the end of the day.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to be honest, I will think these paradigms as non-verbal paradigms compared with the traditional
Yeah, of course, of course. I'm just of course it's verbal knowledge is much less involved. Just thinking of it in an extreme way, whether or not it's completely ruled out or so.
But for the complexity, I would say the top complexity is verbalized subjective experience, and then the middle class is to reflect on your interoception, and then the lowest level of complexity is making similarity judgment. Maybe. Do you agree with this rank?
This can be an empirical question. We can check the reaction time of different paradigms.
Ah,
I will say similarity judgment will be very easy and quick to do, I will guess, and verbalize the experience. Yeah, the free report paradigm, I say the free report time, mean response time might be like half a minute or so.
Yeah, but isn't like verbal report, maybe the person already have the sentence in their mind already, just take time to speak it out.
Yeah, that's also possible. Yes, yes. Right. Okay. Yeah, you are correct. We probably can't do know
it's
it.
complicated. It's complicated, but there's another possibility that when people doing similarity judgment, they they do the interoception reflection at first, and then compare the similarity between their gut feeling or heart beating, just such kind of. So this is a question.
Initially, yes, but there's a very realistic reason that our online participants will always tend to do the task faster. So maybe initially they say, yeah, I will do this very seriously, and then yeah, they might say, I will just believe my gut feelings.
Okay.
Mm. Mm. But if you run in-lab experiment, you can certainly tell participants, yeah, please do it, say, in a specific way as you want. Yeah. Any other thoughts?
Uh, mm. please.
Oh, thank you. Just a very small part. So while there's good correlation between the two cultural groups, there are some actual differences that the author has found. And since we have, let me have a look, sorry. So for example, for scary music, Western participants also reported something to do with the gut, while Chinese or East Asian participants reported no such things. And as well as the also for happiness and danceable, you can see that Eastern Asian participants have attributed a lot of activities, whatever that is, to their hands and feet specifically, compared to Western participants. Is there a explanation for this on a cultural level, do we think?
Maybe if you see this difference, and although might not be that obvious, this difference is quite noticeable across all 6 categories. Say, Western participants tend to put their activation in gut region, whereas you don't see it for Asian participants.
So I suppose the question is whether there are some cultural differences that we could think of that sort of explain this phenomenon, since, well, some of us are have Chinese cultural background. We can actually make this sort of comparison using the cultural knowledge.
Don't have gut feelings. Again,
So-
I haven't thought about this, so it's quite hard to imagine. Do you have such experience? Sorry, Lipeng?
So I'm not sure in our culture, are we dancing like that? I don't know. Yeah, since since none of us are very Eastern, Western people, I don't know.
Let me see.
So to be honest, I think I have a very, very weak interoception. So that's the reason why I ask about how do you feel about your body, whether you have a very intense interoception, because I don't have. So I might be question of these paradigms to report their body feeling. Sometimes I'm thinking about, is this really body feeling or just some terminology or semantic information or description of experience? Like, yeah, just like what I say, twisting God.
Like the cultural knowledge associated with the emotion in that sense.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. In our language, yes. In Chinese, in Chinese language, there are much more things about feelings that involve heart. Say, I'm quite sad. It's like I feel like someone is cutting my heart, or I feel like my heart is burning. But there's less saying about gut. Let's say my gut is. I can't think of any.
Yeah.
So maybe it's in the language. Right. But please, I notice a difference between the samples. You see, the Western sample was recruited on prolific, and the mean age is over 30, and the Chinese sample is recruited in university campus. And the mean age is just 23. I don't know if that might cause a small difference, but yeah, their samples are not that matched. Yeah.
Are you talking about age being a factor influencing result?
No, it's basically about what kind of people they are. So
Oh,
Western
okay.
samples are prolific samples, and Chinese samples are university students.
Yeah. Okay.
It's hard.
But because it's musical similar, I don't think that would make too much of a difference though.
Yeah, I will say it shouldn't make much difference, but
Yeah,
it
it's
looks
relatively stable
it looks
across
very
age and
but it looks very obvious. I mean, the difference looks
yeah.
very
Yeah,
obvious.
because even culture, it was very high correlation, right? Sure.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so if cultural differences is like very highly correlated, like if they're very highly correlated across culture, I don't think age will make much of a difference either. Unless
Um,
you get like two distinct generations with different music taste, then there's a different story. But if I think the mean age of 20 something and 30 something, I think it's 10 years apart. It's not too bad, I think.
maybe it's the context of the responding, in the sense that prolific, most likely the participants are in their home, they're doing it on their laptop, they are being rewarded with some amount of money, and they want to finish, whatever they study relatively quickly. I'm not sure how exactly the study was conducted for Chinese participants on the campus. Are there any time pressure that may perhaps make them, think
Uh,
more reflexively in some way?
it
I
depends
mean,
on if
sorry.
it's a in-lab experiment
Uh,
or they just gave away the flyers
yeah,
to students and let them do it in their own time. So
yeah,
it
that's true.
also didn't specify, right, whether or not it's in-lab or.
Don't think so.
Mm. It's very common in Chinese universities and also university here. Yeah, students are invited to the lab and do the experiments.
Hmm.
Mm.
Okay, I think that's pretty good for any other questions?
Okay, just to sum up. So even though this paradigm seems, I personally don't have a very strong intra-body sensation. It seems to be, but it, but this paradigm seems to be the best available paradigm for sampling on large scale, like recruit much more as 100,000 participants on prolific. It is it is a good paradigm, and
Hmm.
yeah. So I will say this study is still good.
Mm. Oh,
Certainly.
good. So,
All right.
Vishaal, you finished your thoughts? Vishaal,
Sorry?
you finished your thoughts? I remember you had
Yeah,
something.
I think I asked the earlier question earlier. I mean, I think I mentioned earlier about the what they meant, right, by activation versus sensation.
Oh, okay,
Right.
that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I
All
think
right.
it's part of activation. It's the instruction or so. I don't
I
really.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Thank you.
all right. If there's no more questions, that will be the end of us. Well, that's not the good way to put it, but that will be the end of the video. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening.